Bitcoin opens June in the red as Michael Saylor's strategy discloses they sold Bitcoin for the first time in 3.5 years. Meanwhile, the Iran peace talks have completely dissolved and tensions are rising once again. Everything is on fire. So today we're going to slow it all down. Because while everyone's watching the chaos, the biggest fight in finance, banks versus crypto, Jamie Dimon versus Coinbase, the whole Clarity Act war is turned into a performance. And the Treasury Secretary of the United States just stood on stage, smiled, and accidentally told us exactly why that performance matters. This is Truth Block. I'm Hurley. Let's mine truth. Okay, let's start with the noise, because there's a lot of it. The headline this morning that's got everyone spun up is that Strategy disclosed it sold Bitcoin for the first time since 2022. And if you only read those words, it sounds like the conviction trade of the decade just blinked. Every bear, every outspoken critic, every account that's been waiting years to dunk on Saylor came out at once this morning. So let's be precise about what actually happened, because precision kills the FUD. Strategy sold 32 Bitcoin, out of more than 840,000. We're talking about a rounding error. A fraction of a percent of their stack. And they did it for two boring and deliberate reasons. One was tax loss harvesting, selling specific coins bought higher to bank the loss. And two, what Saylor himself called inoculating the market, proving Strategy can fund its preferred dividends with a sliver of Bitcoin instead of diluting shareholders, which is exactly the kind of clean and predictable behavior the S&P 500 wanted to see. Now, we broke this whole machine down in detail in this episode here, so go watch that if you want the full mechanics. To put a pin in it, James Lavish put it perfectly. They sold 0.004% of their holdings. If that's your reason for selling this morning, the problem isn't Strategy. And here's the part the panic crowd skipped right past. While they were writing Saylor's obituary, Saylor was out over the weekend signaling the next buy. That's the chart he posts right before Strategy buys more. The man they're calling a seller is teeing up another big purchase. So let's put this one to bed. Strategy selling is not the story. The reason Bitcoin actually sold off this week is sitting in the Middle East. The 2026 ceasefire is coming apart at the seams. Iran has suspended talks, rejected every framework on the table, and is threatening to fully close the Strait of Hormuz once again. The US has a naval blockade on Iranian ports, oil has spiked, and risk assets did what risk assets do when a war ignites overnight. They got sold. That's the real catalyst. A shooting conflict over the artery of the global energy supply. But here's what I want you to hold on to, because it's the thread that ties this entire episode together. The chaos is real, but it's still mostly weather. It moves the price around in the short term. What I want to show you today is the thing happening underneath the weather, because it's the thing that actually explains how $1 billion vanished out of a set of crypto wallets this week, and what that means for Bitcoin sitting in yours. More on that later in the show. First, let's talk about the fight. Turn on financial media right now and you'll see the same story framed a dozen ways. Banks versus crypto, old money versus new money, the $4 trillion incumbents against the upstarts trying to tear it all down. Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan in one corner, and Brian Armstrong and Coinbase in the other. The Clarity Act as the battleground. It's got everything. Villains, heroes, a heavyweight title fight for the future of money. And the most viral moment of the whole thing came just a few days ago, when Dimon got asked about Coinbase and the Clarity Act on Fox Business.
So, it's complicated, and the government needs to do it thoughtfully. If they don't do it thoughtfully, it'll be a huge problem.
So are you happy with the way the Clarity Act is turning out?
No, because it allows them to effectively pay interest on deposits, stablecoins or something like that, without the protection that they should have. And it doesn't do anything for AML/BSA. It has almost no legal protections. So no, the banks will not accept it that way. And the ABA, the small banks, the credit unions, it's not just the big guys. I'm not worried about stablecoin, but if it happened, I'm telling you, I would have nothing to do with it, and it would eventually blow up on its own. Okay, but that's my personal thing. But I do understand the concern of all the other banks. So,
well, the markup is coming. I mean, what are you going to do about it?
It is. We'll fight it. If we lose, we lose, and we'll live.
Yeah. Okay.
But it will be fought. This will not be. No one's going to bow down to this guy, okay, or that company. And he's the only one.
Yeah.
And he's spending hundreds of millions of dollars in Washington this thing.
Okay? He said he's representing the whole industry.
He's full of shit.
Well, we're going to watch that one.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is turning into a big fight between the whole, each industry. And you're talking about blockchain and getting blockchain out.
But we do blockchain.
You've been doing that for a long time.
We have connections. We have JP. We're going to do it. I think it's a legitimate technology. I think stablecoin can be a legitimate payment system.
If you take that clip at face value, it looks like a bank CEO declaring war on crypto. But listen to what he actually said in the same breath. He told you he already has the JP Morgan deposit coin. He told you JP Morgan already does blockchain. This is not a man who thinks the technology is dangerous or fake. He's been building it for years. So what is he actually mad about? He's mad that Coinbase might get to act like a bank without being regulated like one. His words, make it fair, make it equal. If he wants to be a bank, be a bank. That's not a moral objection to crypto. That's a turf complaint. He's not trying to kill the new financial layer. He wants to make sure that when it gets built on his terms, under his rules, and with him holding the keys. $24 trillion in banking assets watching one CEO lose his composure on live television. That's not the sound of an industry that's confident it's winning. That's the sound of an incumbent who just realized the rules got written without him, and he's negotiating the price of admission. Now, if Dimon's the enemy of crypto, then surely Coinbase sees the banks as the enemy, right? Here's Brian Armstrong, the supposed leader of the resistance, describing his relationship with those banks.
Yeah, well, I go around and I speak with lots of different bank CEOs, and many of them are just leaning into this as an opportunity to grow their business. They're integrating stablecoins as fast as they can. They understand that their clients want access to crypto assets, and all these funds are now being tokenized, and it's just going to make everything more efficient in the financial system. So I truly believe that this is an opportunity for American companies, including the banks. We're very invested in their success. They're invested in our success, by the way. They've been working with us as partners in many different ways for the last 14 years. And so we're at a place now where all American companies can finally start to build this industry. My hope is that with this legislation getting through, we're all going to be able to work together a little bit more collaboratively.
That's right. Coinbase has been partnering with banks for 14 years. In fact, 5 of the top 20 US banks already run on Coinbase rails. Does that sound like a war to you? Because it sounds like a supplier describing his biggest customers. These two are not on opposite sides of a battlefield. They're on the same side of a negotiating table, haggling over who gets which slice. The rivalry you're being sold is two companies fighting over the same customer in the same system, building the same thing. And if you still don't believe me, listen to the man who wrote the bill. This is Senator Tim Scott, chairman of the Senate Banking Committee.
The banking sector, they fought tooth and nail. In fact, there's still talk that they're still going to try to fight tooth and nail on this. Was it all just about money and control? Why so much resistance from the financial sector?
You know, they've been, frankly, we have the greatest banking system in all of the world, so we are incredibly thankful for the way that we've built our banking system. Competition coming into any space, it creates butterflies at the very least. And so what we've been able to do is try to make sure that we're threading the needle between cryptocurrency, the future of finance, and traditional finance, as you call it, fiat finance that we're looking at today. The good news from my perspective, we're already seeing banks, Charles, get into the crypto business. And so the future of this 3 to 5 years from now, we'll say, tension where you're talking about, it'll be gone.
Senator Scott isn't predicting a winner. He's telling you there is no war to win. 3 to 5 years from now, the banks have absorbed this space. The crypto firms have become quasi-banks, and the whole thing settles into one system with 2 sets of jerseys. The author of the legislation just told you the ending out loud. This is a merger, not a war. So if banks and crypto are quietly merging into one thing, what is that one thing? What are they actually building together? You have to look at what's missing. A couple weeks back, Armstrong posted his list of everything the financial system still needs to fix, which consisted of 8 items. Tokenization, payments, AI, access, and way down at number 8, dead last, almost an afterthought, sound money. Now, I don't know about you, but I kind of think Bitcoin should be number 1 on that list, not number 8. Armstrong's ranking tells you everything you need to know. The loudest voice in crypto treats sound money as the last item on the to-do list. Because Coinbase isn't a Bitcoin company. It's a crypto casino trying to become a financial services platform. It's competing with JP Morgan for the exact same prize. And that prize is not sound money. The prize is custody. Who gets to hold your assets? Who runs the layer your money lives inside? That's the whole game. Banks and crypto aren't fighting over whether you get freedom. They're fighting over who gets to be your custodian. Now, I have to give credit here because Scott Wolf laid this out better than just about anyone. He calls it the theater of the heated rivalry, a banking crypto cartel putting on a show of fighting while they build the same cage together. All of this raises a question that pretty much answers itself. If everybody at the top is fighting this hard to be your custodian, why would you ever hand one of them the job? And lucky for us, you don't have to. You can hold your own Bitcoin yourself. And the people I trust to show you how are the ones backing this show, the Bitcoin Way. Their entire job is making sure the answer to who holds your Bitcoin is one word: you. The Bitcoin Way is a team with over 25 years of cybersecurity experience, and they'll sit down with you one-on-one and walk you through real self-custody, your own keys, your own wallet, your own node, and then help you lock down the devices around it so nobody gets in through the side door. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, they meet you where you are. So go to thebitcoinway.com/Hurley and book a free consultation call today. So what happens the day the people running that custody layer decide you're the problem? We don't have to guess. We got the answer this week from the Treasury Secretary himself.
I believe that we have seized about $1 billion of their crypto. And
just outright seized it.
Just outright grab the wallets. Some of them may be like typing in right now and realize they might not have realized that their wallet had been grabbed. And we are working with our allies all over Europe to grab villas and houses and properties. And this is money that's stolen from the Iranian people.
Okay, I want to be very careful and precise about what Bessent is describing here, because the distinction is the whole ballgame. What the US government grabbed was custodied crypto. They were likely stablecoins sitting on platforms in wallets that had a counterparty, somebody to call, somebody with the ability to freeze, seize, and hand over the funds. The state decided these people were the enemy, and it revoked their access in real time. That's what the custody layer is. It was never your money. It's a claim on your money that somebody else can cancel. And that somebody is the same set of institutions that JP Morgan is and that Coinbase is fighting to be. This theatric war isn't about freeing you from the system. It's about deciding who gets to hold the keys when the order comes down. And don't tell yourself this is just an Iran story. Bessent said it himself. They're grabbing the wallets and they're working with allies to grab the villas, the houses, and the properties. This is what every government does at the end of a long-term debt cycle. When the state is broke and the bills come due, it reaches for the assets it can reach. Iran is just the test case you're allowed to cheer for. The mechanism doesn't check your passport. It checks whether someone else is holding your stuff. Okay, before we land this plane, I want to let you know that we're building something really exciting at Simply Bitcoin that you won't want to miss. Scan the QR code below or visit news.simplybitcoin.com/launch to learn more and be one of the first to see what's coming. So let's bring this all the way back around. The strategy sale was noise. The Iran sell-off is stormy weather, real, painful, but temporary. And the great banks versus crypto war is theater. Strip all of that away and you're left with one fact, demonstrated this week by the Treasury Secretary of the United States, on a stage with a smile. Every layer these people are fighting to control is a permission layer, and permission can be revoked with a keystroke. There is exactly one form of money that doesn't live inside that layer. One kind of money with no counterparty to call, no platform to freeze it, no company holding the keys, and no wallet for someone to grab. Self-custodied Bitcoin. Not Coinbase Bitcoin, not an ETF, not a stablecoin sitting in an app. Bitcoin in your own custody with your own keys. Everything the US government grabbed, they grabbed because it sat inside a permission layer. The one thing his demonstration couldn't touch is the one thing nobody else is holding for you. So here's the urgency. As the Clarity Act gets finalized and the rules of this new system get locked in, the line between custodied and self-custodied stops being some technical detail for nerds. It becomes the only distinction that matters. Right now, while it's still sitting at number 8 on somebody's list, treated like an afterthought, that's the window. That's when you move. Not when everyone already understands it, because by then the layer is already built and you're already in the prison. Bitcoin in proper self-custody is the only escape. Okay, now I want to hear from you. When Scott Bessent says they just grabbed the wallets, does that change how you think about where your Bitcoin actually sits tonight? Where do you stand on the banks versus crypto war? Is it real or is it pure theater? And where does sound money fall on your personal list? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this one reframed the noise for you, hit the like button and send it to someone who's still watching the wrong fight. And make sure you're subscribed to Simply Bitcoin so you don't miss what comes next. Stay calm in the storm, and I'll see you on Thursday.